The so-called jungle camp in Calais is growing. It's no longer just tents, but there are shacks, shops, restaurants, and even nightclubs. And volunteers, many from London, are doing everything they can to help out.
They bring their vans, they bring their cars, and they bring us donations, and we get them together and we bring them straight out to the camp.
It just feels like the world's descending into chaos and we should all try and help.
But truck drivers, who face the daily challenge of getting to the UK without people hiding illegally on their vehicles, aren't happy.
With all this help and aid that's being supplied, they're attracting them like a magnet, they're attracting them to Calais.
And it's now even being claimed the camp may be a possible route into the UK for supporters of so-called Islamic State.
Do you think there are any people from Daesh here?
Of course, yeah.
This is a place where you can hide in plain sight if you're returning jihadi.
This is the story of the volunteers who only want to help, and the people who claim all this effort may just be making a difficult situation worse. We're heading across the Channel, leaving Dover and sailing to Calais. It's one of the routes taken many weekends by people who want to help out at the jungle camp. In a warehouse on the edge of town, we meet up with some of them. Elizabeth Hayward has driven from Hounslow in West London.
I've got blankets and scarves and hats. Some of it's come from where I work in central London. I work for the NHS.
Also arriving, a van driven from Brixton in South London. In charge of this operation is Claire Mosley, who's quit her job as an accountant to help out.
We've got a van full of blankets, so the minute we've done the fire extinguishers, we'll be taking the blankets out because it's so cold.
We followed this team, and night and day, no matter what the weather, their work went on.
This is insane, it's absolutely freezing. Look at this man's feet here, he's got flip-flops on. It just seems crazy, chaotic, and that there's loads of people who need stuff.
We met migrants who said this support makes all the difference.
They're supplying the foods, they're giving their places, the shelters where we can survive from the cold.
They give us everything.
They give you everything?
Yeah.
But there's a very different view, and it comes from the road that runs right by the camp.
With all this help and aid that's being supplied, they're attracting them like a magnet, they're attracting them to Calais.
Rob Wakeling drives trucks to and from Europe for a company based in Byfleet, Surrey, and he's noticed the camp growing quickly in the past few months.
Covers such a grand area now, and there's purpose-built buildings, and I don't see how it can carry on the growth rate it is before it becomes a real serious problem. And the more that are here, the more trouble is likely to be caused.
To make his point, he came off the main road to drive closer to the camp.
Can you put that camera, can you just hide the camera for a minute? Just while we get around this corner. I just don't want to get stoned or anything.
He says it's about time the volunteers handing out support thought about the human rights of the lorry drivers.
No, they don't consider our point of view, that's the big problem. It's got to be personal safety, it's got to be the biggest concern. You don't know, any single one of these might have a stone, a rock, have a knife.
Our drivers are being attacked on a daily basis with bars, knives, rocks. Yes, we accept this as a humanitarian issue, but there needs to be some balance and understanding in terms of what it's creating, what it's encouraging.
You've got literally hundreds of them down every side of the truck, front, back, trying to get underneath it. There's no other place they're going to try to get to now. Even if it's not for passage to the UK, they know they're going to get a pretty good time of it once they make it to Calais.
There are estimates that around 7,000 people may now live here, all with one ambition. And with recent reports that some Islamic State jihadists from North Africa are being smuggled into Europe disguised as refugees, could this growing camp in Calais possibly be a route into the UK? We invited a former head of counter-terrorism with the City of London Police to come and take a look himself.
I think I've got a duty to find out what's going on.
Kevin Hurley is now the Police and Crime Commissioner for Surrey, and this would be his first visit to the camp.
What concerns me is this is completely unpoliced space. Nobody knows who's here. And if you look behind me, the people on the sofa are covering up their faces. They don't want to be seen. There could be all sorts of reasons.
As Kevin Hurley walked further into the camp, his concerns grew for the migrants living here.
There's no doubt in my mind there will be organised criminals amongst these people exploiting them.
This man from Afghanistan said there had been a murder here just the night before.
Yesterday there is one black guy is died. Someone is killed. I don't know because I'm very scary.
But what about that possibility of a risk to the UK? He stopped this man and asked, could there be anyone from so-called Islamic State, known in the Middle East as Daesh, in the jungle camp?
Do you think there are any people from Daesh here?
Of course, yeah.
In this camp?
In the jungle, you mean?
Yeah.
In the jungle, have, yeah, of course, have.
When the man, an Iraqi Kurd, was asked to explain what he meant, he said he didn't mean people from the organisation Islamic State were in the camp, but instead people who supported their methods, their ways.
I don't mean that one is working for Daesh.
Okay, I understand.
Just it working for way Daesh. Daesh is not been. You must be in that group. Daesh is mean killer.
Kevin Hurley had heard and seen enough. As far as he's concerned, this camp does pose a security risk to the UK.
I think this camp is a potential hiding place. If I were a returning jihadi, I would smuggle myself in amongst this group. You'd easily get lost.
I think the biggest risk that we face from the jungle camp is simply that UK nationals who have been here previously, who are trying to avoid detection by the police, by the security services, and are attempting to re-enter the country, claiming to be asylum seekers when in actual fact they're not.
Later that day, Kevin Hurley bumped into Claire Mosley and her volunteers, handing out more donations.
It's a terrible situation.
But she totally disagreed with his risk assessment.
That's the most ridiculous thing I have ever heard. You would have to be the world's stupidest terrorist to try and enter Britain as a refugee, because when you come in as a refugee, you are subject to detailed background checks.
And Claire also disagreed with the lorry drivers who believed that volunteers handing out regular donations may be helping the camp to grow.
You don't come here if you've got any choice whatsoever, and you most certainly do not come here for a handout of food or a second-hand pair of jeans. Truck drivers have a safe future. If they have to change their jobs, it is not the end of the world. This is.
Claire Mosley says as long as the donations continue, her team will keep working. And she wants people to recognise just how big a humanitarian crisis this is. But if the camp continues to grow, so will the calls for something to be done about it.